couple of weeks ago, we found an issue with what AI was reporting about one of my clients. Last week, we started working on some ways we might update that information, make sure that it's correct going forward. But we need to give those changes some time. So we'll check in on that again next week. This week, I did a little checking using AI search on a different client, and I found some different problems that have the same root cause. So this week, we're going to talk about what I found and why it matters if your business has changed in any way over the last couple of years. Hi, I'm Appy from iCode Happy. I'm a website and data advisor. I help my clients make sure that their website is working for them and for their business. And right now, that means checking to see how they're showing up in AI search. So one of the tricky things is that when you show up in AI search, it's not just about your website. I have a client who rebranded last fall. I built her new website. I know exactly what it says. But AI, when I did a little mini audit, just a couple of tools, AI came up with some things that are not on that website. Why? Because AI pulls from the entire web. So anything about your business is going to be included. So this rebranding that happened, the name and the website is new, but there are still articles and references and reviews, videos, social posts that all include the brand as it was previously. Just because we updated the handle on Instagram doesn't mean we went back to every single old post from Instagram and updated the name in each one. So as I did this little mini audit, Google Gemini, I asked in general, tell me about this brand. Then I did some follow-up questions. Finally, I asked it about shipping and returns. Some things it got right about the brand in general, but when it got to shipping and returns, a lot of these things it made up. For my other client, Perplexity was the one that struggled the most as far as accurate information for shipping and returns. So I just dove straight into that question for this particular brand for Perplexity. Tell me about this brand and their shipping and return policies. And Perplexity wasn't able to answer most of that. So while Google Gemini had at least some accurate data and some inaccurate, which is almost worse because some true, some false, what do you believe? Perplexity just says, I don't know. So this goes back to what we talked about in the last video, that by default, Shopify restricts the bots or the crawlers from accessing policy pages. And that's by design. Is that critical right now? We're just beginning to have more widespread AI search. But at some point, is one of your customers going to go to AI search and say, I want X thing, and I want you to tell me the brands that have the best shipping rates or the fastest shipping times or the best refund policy? And depending on what they're looking for, maybe their prior history, whatever AI can tell about what you offer, that may be a divider between somebody buying what you offer and maybe what somebody else offers that's similar, but the separation point or the deal breaker ends up being shipping costs, delivery time, refund policy. That's something to consider, whether it might be useful to put that someplace on your site that AI can at least crawl it. And what I'm thinking about doing is adding shipping information to the product pages for my clients. There's pros and cons, difficulty keeping it updated, that kind of thing. But it's worth at least considering what the trade-offs are and whether it might be worth it. The second thing that I noticed, and I only did this in one platform in Google Gemini, because that was the only one that I asked general questions about this brand. But as I asked a little bit more, what I noticed is that the current brand and the previous brand before the rebrand happened last fall, AI doesn't know how those things fit together. It's saying that there are two different product series, one under one name and one under another, and that's not the case. So, really, it's not making things up, but it is having to interpret a relationship, and it's not necessarily doing that correctly. What we might consider doing is doing an explanation, maybe a blog post somewhere or an FAQ. What happened? Oh, we rebranded. We went from this to this. And this is what the relationship is between the two names, between the products. They're the same. They haven't changed. They're just now called a different series instead of the first one. And it may take some time for AI to get all of that put together, but it's worth considering whether that is something that's useful for the brand. What we're finding this time is similar to what we found before. AI reports what it can find. If it's outdated, if it's incomplete, if there's something that's blocked, then it doesn't know how to fit those puzzle pieces together. And you can't correct it by arguing with it. I've proved that. So what do? That's where we have to consider the source material. We can't necessarily go back and correct every single reference across the internet, even if that was in our control. But we can try to connect the dots, maybe put some of those pieces together on our website, maybe show it some of the missing puzzle pieces, and then continue to check. The models, they're using probabilities, so they're not going to show the same thing every single time. So you have to keep checking and just keep a log of what the patterns are. That can help you understand if you're making progress. So next week, we're going to check back in on my other client. We're going to see if anything has changed considering the work we did last week. If you've ever searched for your own business, your own brand, maybe even yourself on AI, I'd love to know what you found and what you think. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. Hit subscribe if you'd like to follow along. Thanks for watching. Come back and see me again.